Welcome back to the video, and in today's video, we're ranking every single NBA starting point guard from the tiers following. From S tier, which is the superstars, A tier, which is the all-stars, B tier, which is the borderline all-stars, C, which is the solid, C is the average, B is the solid, D is the meh, like not great, and then F is the worst. We got a lot of point guards, every single NBA starting point guard, so all 30 of them. We've gotten a lot of big offseason news with the NBA. That's why I'm coming with some NBA content. We got Chris Paul going to the Warriors, Jordan Poole going to the Wizards, Kristaps Porzingis going to the Celtics, Marcus Smart going to the Grizzlies, Tyus Jones going to the Wizards, Bradley Beal going to the Suns. A ton of NBA drama going on, and we might as well get in on this and make some NBA content while this is happening. So every single point guard is listed. You already saw the following tiers. Before we get into the video, please leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are not yet new. If you're new and you like the content, because we are posting daily and you don't want to miss out. And also comment down below where you would have put in these point guards yourselves. So first up, we got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This is in order by divisions, by the way, but I'm not actually ranking them based on divisions. Like you can see, the Northwest is first, but whatever. First up, we got Shai. I'm putting Shai in S tier. Shai had an unreal year this year. All NBA first team, averaged 30-plus points a game on great efficiency, carrying the Thunder to the play-in and getting them ultimately so close to the playoffs with a team that is not even that good. Very, very impressive with Shai. We knew Shai was capable of this. We just didn't know when he was going to spark, and this year was his year. I mean, all NBA first team is crazy. S tier for Shai. That might be one of the easier decisions of this video. Next up, we got Damian Lillard. This is kind of tough because Dame's been battling injuries, but this year's actually had a fully healthy year. I'm going to put Dame in S tier. I am. I think Dame's S tier. I will order these, by the way. I think Shai's better than Dame. I will put Dame in S tier. I think if he was injured again this year, I probably would have put him A or B because he has been injured a ton throughout his career. But he had a fully healthy year this year, and he really showed it. Although the Trailblazers were not that good, it wasn't his fault. The team is at fault. Their team sucks. And Dame had a really good year, so Dame S tier. 2 S tiers to start it off. Wow. Next up, we have Mike Conley. I'm gonna say Mike Conley's a C tier. I think he's average. I think he's a reliable point guard. I think he's older though. He's a veteran, reliable starting point guard. He's in the average tier for point guards. I think some people put him D because he's older. Some people put him B because he's still good. I mean, he averaged like 13. He still gets assists. And on that Timberwolves teams, you need some playmaking. So it's not bad. It's just he's an average point guard. Next up, we have Jamal Murray. This is kind of a tough one because Jamal Murray went off in the playoffs carrying the Nuggets. Not carrying, obviously Jokic there too, but was a big part of the Nuggets being the NBA champions. I'm going to put Jamal Murray in B tier. I think he's a solid point guard. I'm not going to put him in A tier because he wasn't an all-star this year, and in the regular season he struggled a little bit, but in the playoffs he really showed up. I really do like Jamal Murray's game, and he hit a bunch of clutch shots in the playoffs. I mean, averaged 20-plus points games in the regular season, and in the playoffs he was a main part in that Nuggets finals, in the Nuggets winning the NBA finals. Next up, we have Talen Horton-Tucker. I'm putting THT in F tier. I'm sorry. It's just I know he had a hot year this year. He actually was really, really good, but I just don't think he's a good point guard. Like I think he's more of a sixth man, seventh man, or just a bench point guard. I don't think he's a good enough to be a starter. But they put him as a starting point guard, so that's who I'm ranking. And in my opinion, Talen Horton-Tucker, although had a solid year, I can't rank him any higher than F because we haven't seen it for a while, and for him to be that high of a pick in the draft and be that much of a disappointment for the Lakers, we need to see a little bit more before I put him a little bit higher. I'll just say that. Next up, we have Steph Curry, S tier, the best point guard in the game. There's not really much debate there. I mean, maybe Luka's going to be in your conversation, but he's without a doubt in S tier. That's what I will say. He's without a doubt in S tier. Basically carried the Warriors past the Kings in the first round. Averaged basically 30 points a game on good efficiency. He is the best shooter of all time, and there's no doubt that he is in S tier. I mean, where else would you put him? Next up, we have Russell Westbrook. It's kind of hard to rank him. I'm going to put Russ in D tier because, yes, his efficiency is horrible, but I'm not going to put him in F because he still has decent defense And he was honestly not that bad for the Clippers when he got to Los Angeles Clippers. When he's in the Lakers, he was horrendous. He was F tier. Now he's D tier. He's starting to get up. I just don't think that he's that good anymore. I think he's past his prime, obviously, and he just he can't shoot the ball. It's simple as that. He cannot shoot the ball. Next up, we have D'Angelo Russell. I think D'Angelo Russell might be the prime C tier player. I'm going to put him above Mike Conley because I think he's better than Mike Conley. Although D-Russ actually had a decent playoff run and wasn't bad in the regular season, he's just not a B tier. He's just not solid. He's just, again, a reliable, fine point guard. Similar to Mike Conley, an older point guard that can do decent. And he was decent in the playoffs. He had some clutch plays, but he also sucked against the Nuggets in the semifinals, in the conference finals. So how high can you really put him? I'm going to put him in C tier because I think he's just fine. Next up, we have Devin Booker. So yeah, Devin Booker is going to be the starting point guard for the Phoenix Suns because Bradley Beal is going to be the 2. Devin Booker, I'm going to put in A tier. I wouldn't say he's quite a superstar. I mean, we'll see how he does with being a point guard. If he's good with being a point guard, he might go in S because he is the best shooting. He was last year the best shooting guard in the league. So it's like, how much respect do you put him? Like, it's kind of hard. It's really really hard. I'm gonna put D-Book in A tier though. He's definitely an all-star talent. I just don't know how it's gonna translate from being a shooting guard to a point guard. That's why I'm not gonna put him in S tier. But I think he is an amazing player. Next up, we have De'Aaron Fox. I'm putting De'Aaron Fox in. It's bro. He's so B is solid, kind of like borderline all star. De'Aaron Fox was an all star, and I'm gonna put De'Aaron Fox in A tier. I think De'Aaron Fox had an amazing year, not behind, not in front of Devin Booker, but he carried the Kings to that 3 spot. Him and Sabonis carried them, and they were the highest scoring team. He was named the most clutch player in the NBA like every single month. It seemed like his fourth quarter points were amazing, and he carried a team that was not supposed to make the playoffs into a 3rd seed. And I know there's a lot of people that did that. Mike Brown's bonus, yes, but he was a main key piece. Without a doubt, De'Aaron Fox, I think he deserves A tier because he was an All Star this year and he played like an All Star. Next up, we have Ja Morant. Now you might have saw from the thumbnail. What do you think I'm gonna put Ja? What do you think I'm gonna put Ja? No. Ja is still he's between A and S for me. I'm gonna put John A because his offseason problems is gonna be a real problem going into next season. He's gonna miss like a fourth of the season. He is great. He's definitely an all-star and honestly probably is a superstar, but with his playing and his offseason stuff, it's just like it's too much to think about right now. I'm gonna put him in A tier, play the safe bet, and the thumbnail got you. Next up, we have Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is the second best point guard in the NBA, in my opinion. Luka is just an absolute stud, averaged 30 plus points a game, and he deserves so much more credit than he's deserved. I know the Mavs didn't make the playoffs, but my goodness, Luka carried the Mavs throughout the season, made them into a playoff possibility, like into a play-in team, and then Kyrie came and everything else is just history. And yeah, Luka is without a doubt one of the best point guards in the league. He's gonna be my second best point guard in the league. Next up, we have Kevin Porter Jr. I think KPJ is going to be going to the C tier near the bottom of it. I like KPJ. He's just fine. He's young, which is good, which means he's got potential. And he actually didn't do too bad. He averaged like 17 points per game this season. But how high can you rank him when he's on the Rockets? He's not on a good team, and he's not carrying the Rockets. So I'm gonna put him in C tier for now. He's not a bad point guard though. I think he's a solid point guard. Next up, we have Tre Jones. I'm putting Tre Jones in D tier. Not quite F tier because, oh, he might be F. Nah, it's not quite F because he averaged 12 points a game. He was able to. Nah, you know what? What am I talking about? He's F tier. I'm sorry. For a point guard, if our starting point guard, he's F tier. And he's probably behind THT as well. THT at least averaged like 16 points. I mean, Tre Jones is just not a starting point guard. He is a bench point guard. And there's no reason why he should be starting except because he's on the Spurs. And he's getting minutes because he's on the Spurs. Now, he actually might do a little bit better next year because he's going to have Wemby playing with him if he stays as the starting point guard. But for now, yeah, he's for sure F tier. Next up is CJ McCollum. I think CJ McCollum might be the prime B tier. Still an amazing year this year. He wasn't an all-star, so I really can't put him in A tier. But I think CJ is a very solid player. It's been like that for his whole career. I think he averaged around 25 points per game this season. Not 25. It was like 23. And again, Pelicans, they didn't do good in the playoffs at all. I mean, they got. I mean, but again, you're facing a good team, so it's like I don't know how much more you can do. So for now, I'm gonna put McCollum in. I guess I gotta put McCollum in B tier. I mean, he's always been a consistent good point guard, but you just can't put him much higher. especially when his team is never in a deep run in the playoffs. So I'm going to put him in B tier for now. Next up, we have Derek White. So obviously now Derek White's going to be the starting point guard because Marcus Smart isn't. Marcus Smart's not on this list even because Jaw is obviously there. And I'm going to put Derek White in C tier. Derek White's not bad. I actually don't mind Derek White as a point guard. Very, very good defensive point guard. Can score you points. Can pass the ball. He's going to be a vital piece actually in this organization because then you have Kristaps, you got Jason Tatum, you got Jaylen Brown. He is not going to have as much pressure to do as much. So I actually think he's going to have a quietly good year. Very underrated point guard. We just haven't really seen him play as a starter, so you really can't put him too high, but I'm going to put Derek White for now into C tier. Next up, we have Jalen Brunson. I'm putting Jalen Brunson into B tier ahead of Jamal and ahead of CJ. I'm also going to put, I forgot that we were ranking them, like, legitimately, so Jaw's got to be at the top. I literally just messed that up. And then I would say Derek White is probably going to be ahead of KPJ, not quite ahead of Mike Conley yet. But yeah, I think Jalen Brunson's an amazing point guard. I don't think he's quite A tier because he really did carry the Knicks, but he wasn't an all. I don't know. It's close. He's teetering between A and B. So like a low A or a high B. I just think the people in A tier is just a little bit better than Jalen. So that's why I'm gonna put him in B tier. But he's a fantastic point guard, great playmaker, great scorer with his height as well. It's ridiculous how he's able to just get so much separation, especially against big men when he faces them as well. Next up, we have Spencer Dinwiddie. This is kind of tough because he actually had a really, really solid year this year, but it's like he's got to be C tier, right? He has to be because he's better than KPJ, and he's probably better than Derek White, and he's probably better than Mike Conley. But he's not better than D'Angelo Russell, but yeah, I think Dinwiddie's a very underrated point guard. I mean, just because he's playing for the Brooklyn Nets and their team isn't that good, I mean, doesn't mean he's a bad point guard. I mean, he was starting point guard for the Mavs. Oh, not starting, but he was next to Luka with the Mavs, and I feel like people aren't giving him recognition as being actually a really, really solid point guard. Again, not anything special. He's average, but if you need a point guard, he is not a bad option by any means. Next up, we have Fred VanVleet. I'm putting Fred VanVleet into the B tier. Probably a low B. I don't think he's better than CJ, but again, another guy that's always been very consistent. A bit of a down year this year, but he's still solid. He can hit threes. He can play make. And it was unfortunate to see the Raptors season just collapse in the second, and their team was horrible this year. But I don't think it was really Fred VanVleet's fault. I think it was injuries and Scottie Barnes being just not as good as his rookie year that really let him down. But I think Fred VanVleet's a great point guard. I think he's going to go right into that B tier. Next up, we have James Harden. I'm sorry. I want to say James Harden's A tier, but it's just not anymore. I think James Harden's B tier, and I think he's going to go right. I think it's going to go right there. I'm sorry. Maybe that's kind of crazy that I'm putting Jalen Brunson ahead of James Harden, but I think Jalen Brunson is a better point guard than James Harden. I mean, James Harden looked horrible in the playoffs. He had a few good games, yeah, but then his elimination game, he scored like 7 points. He was horrible. Him and Embiid were terrible, and he's definitely getting older and the step backs aren't working as well. And he can't do the step backs because his legs aren't working much anymore. He can still score. I'm not saying he's a bad player. B tier is a very, very solid rating. It's just he's not prime. He's not prime anymore. He's not prime James Harden. He's decent James Harden. Next up, we have Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday might be one of the more underrated point guards in the league. He also was an All-Star this year. So you know what? I'm putting Jrue Holiday in A tier. I am. I think Jrue Holiday is a very underrated point guard. I don't think he's better than De'Aaron Fox or Devin Booker or John Morant, but I think Jrue Holiday is a super underrated point guard, and here's why. First of all, lockdown defense. First of all, he can still score as a volume good scorer, especially when Giannis is being double teamed, and he's a great team leader. You can just tell that the atmosphere loves him. And overall, he can do everything at a very, very high level. He's a good, consistent point guard. And defensively, he is nasty. So, Jrue Holiday, A tier. Next up, we have Ayo Damasu. I don't know how to say his last name. He's probably D tier. I wouldn't say he's F because he's not horrible. He's not a bad point guard. It's just Lonzo's always injured. They don't really have a starting point guard there. They need an actual starting point guard. See, I'm actually gonna do something here. I'm gonna put Io to F tier and Talon up to D because Talon actually had a decent end of the year. Yeah, Io's just not that good. I'm sorry. Io is just he's mid. He just shouldn't be a starting point guard. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't watch Bulls basketball since they were out of the playoffs, so I really get to watch this guy play. But from his stats, from his highlights, he just doesn't seem like he's that good. And I think he's more of a bench point guard than anything else. Next, we have Darius Garland. I'm putting Darius Garland in A tier. Yeah, you know what? That's a hot take maybe to some people. I'm going to still put him at the bottom of A tier, but I think Darius Garland is an amazing point guard. A great playmaker, can score at a high level as well, and has a underratedly good defense. And with the Cavs being the 3 seed, he was a main part of that. Him and Donovan worked so well together. It was so nice seeing those two all-star players work so well together. The Cavs team's going to be dangerous next year. I know they got eliminated early, but watch out. Their team's going to be good. Next up, we have Jaden Ivey. I'm putting Jaden Ivey in C tier. Jaden Ivey actually had a really good rookie year, and I'm going to put him at the top of it because I think he had a really, really good rookie year for the Pistons. I mean, he was probably a top 5 rookie of the year candidate, and it really shows in the stats. I mean, 15 points per game. He was consistent. He didn't really get injured too much, and it's a good future to see Cade and Jaden Ivey playing against each other and playing very, very well. Pistons, I don't really watch much of their basketball. I'm sorry, their team's just insanely boring. But I can tell Jaden Ivey's a fun player to watch, and he's going to be a great player for years to come. Next, we have Tyrese Halliburton. I'm putting Tyrese Halliburton in A tier. Um, he had a really, really good year. He had a really, really good year. This is kind of tough. This is actually insanely tough on how to rank these guys. It's really, really hard. I'm gonna put Tyrese ahead of Darius, ahead of Drew, not ahead of De'Aaron Fox. 'Cause I think Tyrese carried the Pacers team. He carried them and made them actually close to even making the playoffs. I mean, obviously not, but he was actually a really, really good player. I mean, he averaged 10 assists or more every single game, 10 assists per game, and averaged 25 points per game. He was actually insane. He was amazing for the Indiana Pacers. Great team player, and has good speed and he's young. He's got a bright future ahead of him. Tyrese Halliburton, A tier. Next will be Trae Young. This might be a controversial one again. The thumbnail said he was mid. Where do I put him? This is kind of hard. This is not an easy decision. It's hard because although he had horrible, horrible, horrible efficiency last year, he was still a 26 point per game scorer and he got the ball a lot. But I think I'm gonna put him at the top of B. I have to. I'm sorry. I have to put him at the top of B because he just had a bad year last year. I know that he can be good. I know that he can be decent. But right now, it's just like it's Trae Young's so inconsistent. He will drop 50 and then he'll drop 10. Horrible efficiency, especially from three. And he just was, and you know how his thing is ice cold Trae Young? He was just cold Trae Young. He was not good at all. He was cold the entire season. And he's one of the reasons why the Atlanta Hawks had such a mid-season for what they should have been. They should have been a playoff team, especially with getting DeJounte Murray. And they were a playoff team, but then they got bounced in the first round. Next we have Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry's D tier. I don't really care about Kyle Lowry. I think he's probably at the top of it, but Kyle Lowry's just not that good, I don't think. He's old. He can barely run anymore. And what does he offer you? Good three-point shooting, I guess. But otherwise, team player, sure. But he has nothing else to offer. Horrible defense. And really, if we're talking about anything else, unless he's open, he's missing a shot. And he's one of the most unathletic players for a point guard, and that's just not what you want to see. Yeah, Kyle Lowry, D tier. Next up, we have. Ooh, this is actually interesting. We have Cole Anthony. I think Cole Anthony's D tier. I do, and I think he's at the bottom of it. I don't think Cole Anthony's that good. He can play make, okay. He can score a little bit, but not really a lot. He's inconsistent on it. And yes, sure, he's athletic. He's young, so he's got potential, but he has not shown me enough with the Magic. And I know the Magic are a bad team, but I mean, he did not look good last year. He looked like he didn't want to be out there, especially after his rookie year, where he was actually pretty decent. His sophomore year just wasn't as good. So Cole Anthony, D tier. Next up, we have two more, a little bit more controversial ones. LaMelo Ball. I'm not gonna lie to you. LaMelo got injured throughout the whole year. We didn't really get to see him play. He had a great rookie campaign. He was an all-star. Do I put him A tier? No. I think LaMelo Ball is gonna go into B tier, right here, behind Trae Young, but still into that B tier because we know how good LaMelo Ball can be. We know that he's one of the flashiest players in the NBA. It's just like he got injured throughout the whole year, so I can't put him in A tier. I can't put him in that all-star level because he didn't get to play. So you can't put him as an all-star when you don't play a single game. So yeah, LaMelo Ball B tier, but I know he's gonna come back and be better, even though the Hornets team also kind of sucks. So 50-50 on that. And last but not least, we have Jordan Poole. If we're talking about Jordan Poole and the Wizards, he actually might have a really solid year because he's gonna have nobody with him, so he's gonna have to do everything by himself. So he might get a little more flashy. But based on last year, I mean Jordan Poole was awful. I'll put him behind Jaden Ivey in C tier because I know he's got potential, and he had a great year last year, not last year. Not this year, though. This year, he was horrible. Terrible efficiency, and Steph would always get mad at him because he was shooting unrealistic shots. He was trying to impress the baddies, and it did not work out. Jordan Poole, C tier. He had a very, very bad year. I'm not going to put him any lower because we know the potential we have of him, but for now, he's pretty much C tier. So that is the end of my tier list of ranking every single NBA starting point guard. I'd like to see your opinions down below in the comments if you agree or disagree with any of these point guard takes. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!